Hello and welcome. It is January 13th, 2026, and exactly 14 hours ago, an event occurred that has no precedent in the annals of naval history. Every single nuclear-powered submarine on the planet, all 147 vessels distributed across 9 sovereign nations, went completely silent simultaneously for a duration of exactly 14 minutes and 22 seconds. I am talking about the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Group, the Russian Borei-class ballistic missile submarines, the Chinese Type 094 Jin class, the British Vanguard fleet, and the French Triumphant. All of them fell into a state of dead silence. There were no communications, no sonar pings, no electronic signatures, and absolutely nothing else. At 3:47 UTC, the United States Strategic Command logged the very first anomaly. By 3:48 UTC, NORAD had escalated to DEFCON 3 protocols. By 3:49 UTC, the Pentagon was on the line with Moscow, Beijing, London, and Paris, all asking the same terrifying question: what just happened to our submarines? Think about that for a moment. These are the most advanced, most protected, and most electromagnetically shielded vessels ever constructed by human civilization. Nuclear submarines operate with redundant communication systems specifically designed to survive a full-scale thermonuclear war. They carry encrypted burst transmitters that can punch through hundreds of meters of dense ocean water. They have emergency beacon systems that activate automatically if primary communications fail. Every single failsafe, every single backup, and every single redundancy failed at the exact same moment across the entire planet. The probability of simultaneous system failure across 147 independent vessels is staggering. NASA's preliminary assessment placed it at 0.00004%. That is 1 in 71 billion. Those are not odds. That is a physical impossibility dressed in mathematics. Now, here is what makes this truly extraordinary. At 3:46 UTC, exactly 47 seconds before the global submarine blackout, the Deep Space Network's antenna, DSS-43, in Canberra, Australia, detected an electromagnetic pulse originating from 3I Atlas. This was not random noise or solar interference. It was a coherent, structured electromagnetic burst with a wavelength of 21.4 centimeters. That wavelength is not arbitrary. 21 centimeters is the hydrogen line, the frequency astronomers have used for decades as a universal constant in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It is the frequency we broadcast into space and the frequency we listen for, and 3I Atlas just used it. The pulse lasted 3.7 seconds. The submarine blackout began 47 seconds later. The blackout ended exactly 14 minutes and 22 seconds after it started, the moment 3I Atlas rotated 0.7 degrees on its axis. Coincidence? The European Space Agency certainly does not think so. ESA's preliminary report, classified at the highest level but leaked to 3 independent scientific institutions within hours, contains a single sentence that has sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. Temporal correlation between the 3I Atlas emission event and the global submarine communications failure exceeds statistical noise thresholds by a factor of 340,000. Let me translate that from scientific language. ESA is saying this was not an accident. ESA is saying 3I Atlas caused this. I need to show you exactly what the data reveals, because what happened in those 14 minutes of silence may be the most significant event in human history. To understand what happened on January 13th, 2026, you need to understand what 3I Atlas actually is, and more importantly, what it is not. 3I Atlas was first detected on October 14th, 2025 by the Atlas Survey Telescope in Hawaii. Initial observations classified it as an interstellar comet, the third confirmed object to enter our solar system from beyond, hence the designation 3I. But within 72 hours of discovery, that classification began to fall apart. The first anomaly appeared on October 17, 2025. Spectroscopic analysis from the Keck Observatory revealed an albedo of nearly 0. The object reflects only 4% of incoming light. For context, typical comets reflect between 15% and 25%. 3I Atlas is darker than charcoal, darker than asphalt, almost as dark as pure carbon, and that is anomaly number 1. On October 23, 2025, anomaly number 2 emerged. NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies calculated the trajectory, and the numbers made no sense. 3I Atlas was accelerating, but not from gravitational influence, and not from outgassing like a normal comet. It showed a non-gravitational acceleration of 0.047 ms2, small, but measurable and completely unexplained. By November 8, 2025, Anomaly 3 appeared. JWST's NIRCam instrument detected thermal emissions inconsistent with solar heating. The object's surface temperature registered at 127 Kelvin on the sun-facing side. The expected temperature based on distance and albedo was only 89 Kelvin. 3I Atlas was 38 degrees warmer than physics predicted. Something inside was generating heat. Pause here and consider what I just told you. An object darker than coal, accelerating without explanation, generating internal heat, and traveling through our solar system from interstellar space. And we haven't even reached the electromagnetic emissions yet. On November 29, 2025, the ALMA array in Chile's Atacama Desert detected the first structured radio emission from 3I Atlas. Frequency, 1.42 GHz, the hydrogen line, duration, 0.8 seconds. The signal showed frequency modulation, with peaks and troughs in a repeating pattern. ALMA detected it, and the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia independently verified it 23 minutes later. ESA's ground station in Cebreros, Spain, cross-referenced using completely different receiver technology. Same signal, same structure, same frequency. 3 sources, different continents, different instruments, and one identical conclusion. 3I Atlas was transmitting. Now, here is what keeps astrophysicists awake at night. Natural objects do not transmit on the hydrogen line. Pulsars emit across broad frequency ranges, magnetars produce gamma ray bursts, comets release radio noise from plasma interactions with solar wind. None of them, not one object in 4 million years of astronomical observation, has ever produced a coherent frequency modulated signal at exactly 1.42 GHz until 3I Atlas, or whatever transmitted that acoustic pulse, demonstrated knowledge of classified military systems that exist in no public database. It demonstrated the ability to transmit information through solid planetary matter. It demonstrated awareness of the precise location of a vessel designed to be undetectable. And it did this while simultaneously disabling every nuclear submarine on Earth. This was not an attack. This was a demonstration of absolute power. Think about the message being sent. We know where you are. We know what you have. We can reach you anywhere. We can disable your most protected systems at will. And we can do all of this from 194 million kilometers away. The Pentagon's internal assessment, leaked within 11 hours, contained a single conclusion paragraph. The entity designated 3I Atlas has demonstrated capabilities consistent with technological superiority of indeterminate magnitude. Defensive countermeasures are not currently viable. Recommend immediate prioritization of communication protocols. The Pentagon is not talking about defense anymore. They are talking about response. But here is what prompted every space agency to redirect their telescopes. At 4 hours, 1 minute, and 22 seconds UTC, exactly when the submarine blackout ended, JWST's MIRI instrument detected a thermal bloom 2.7 million kilometers from 3I Atlas. A second object, with dimensions approximately 340 meters in length and a surface temperature of 847 Kelvin, appeared from nowhere. No prior detection in any survey, no trajectory data, and no origin point. It appeared at the exact moment the blackout ended, and its thermal signature is not consistent with any natural object. It is consistent with a powered vessel. 3I Atlas is not alone. And whatever just arrived, whatever was hidden until this moment, is now visible to every telescope on Earth. The question we now face is no longer whether 3I Atlas is artificial. The question is, what just woke up? Let us establish what we know with absolute certainty. On January 13, 2026, at 3:47 UTC, every nuclear-powered submarine on Earth lost communication simultaneously. 147 vessels, 9 nations, perfect synchronization within 1/10 of a second. The blackout lasted exactly 14 minutes and 22 seconds, a duration encoded in a binary transmission from 3I Atlas 33 days earlier. During the blackout, the USS Louisiana recorded an acoustic pulse containing classified operational parameters of the vessel transmitted through the entire planet from the direction of 3I Atlas. At the exact moment communications were restored, JWST detected a second object, 2.7 million kilometers from 3I Atlas, 340 meters in length, 847 Kelvin surface temperature, and previously undetected. These are not theories. These are documented observations from NASA, ESA, NORAD, the Pentagon, and 6 independent observatories. But one question remains unanswered, one question that every classified briefing carefully avoids. Why submarines? Of all the systems on Earth, power grids, communication satellites, financial networks, military command structures, 3I Atlas targeted nuclear submarines specifically. These are the vessels designed to survive the apocalypse. These are the vessels that carry enough firepower to end human civilization. These are the vessels that represent the ultimate expression of our capacity for destruction. Think about the precision of that choice. Not our ability to communicate, not our infrastructure, and not our technology broadly, but our weapons. Our most hidden weapons, our most protected weapons, our civilization-ending weapons. That was the message. The answer to why determines everything. If this was a warning, then we are being told to reconsider our relationship with nuclear arsenals. If this was a test, then we are being evaluated, and we do not know the criteria. If this was a capability demonstration, then whoever controls 3I Atlas wants us to understand the power differential. And if this was first contact, deliberate, calculated, unmistakable first contact, then the method chosen tells us something profound. They did not reach out with mathematics. They did not send prime numbers or universal constants. They did not attempt dialogue. They demonstrated control. There is no middle ground, and one of these interpretations is our new reality. The clock is running. Right now, as you hear these words, the second object detected by JWST is moving. Trajectory analysis confirms it is approaching the inner solar system at a velocity of 47 kilometers per second. Estimated time to reach Earth orbit is 23 days. 3I Atlas itself continues on its trajectory. Current distance, 191 million kilometers and closing. Non-gravitational acceleration has increased by 12% since the submarine event. It is speeding up. Every major telescope on Earth is now locked onto these two objects. JWST is dedicating 40% of its observation time to continuous monitoring. ALMA has suspended all other research programs. The Deep Space Network has activated every available antenna. In 23 days, the second object reaches our orbital neighborhood. In 23 days, we will know whether January 13th was an introduction or a conclusion. The data streams are active and the instruments are recording. Every hour brings new observations. Whatever 3I Atlas truly is, whatever intelligence guides its actions, it chose January 13th, 2026 to announce itself. The first day of a new year and the first day of a new era. Our submarines are back online, our communications are restored, and our world appears unchanged. An ancient stone monument on Earth and an interstellar object nearly 250 million kilometers away are now broadcasting on identical frequencies in real time with zero detectable delay beyond light speed propagation. This is not coincidence. This is communication. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory issued an internal Priority Alpha designation at 7:15 UTC. I have colleagues at JPL. They confirmed this within the hour. Priority Alpha has been issued only 4 times in NASA's history. The last instance was during the Voyager 2 Neptune encounter in 1989. This is the fifth. ESA suspended all non-essential satellite operations at 8 UTC to redirect tracking resources toward 3I Atlas. The European Space Agency does not do this casually. Every suspended operation costs millions of euros. They are treating this as the most significant event in modern astronomical history. And then came the response that truly alarmed me. At 9:30 UTC this morning, the British Ministry of Defense deployed electromagnetic shielding equipment around Stonehenge's perimeter, military vehicles, classified technology, a 2-kilometer exclusion zone enforced by armed personnel. I made calls. I contacted colleagues in the UK scientific community. 3 of them had clearance to access the site as of yesterday. As of this morning, their clearances were revoked. All civilian scientific access terminated indefinitely. The British government is not treating this as an archaeological curiosity. They are treating it as a national security event. Ask yourself why. What would prompt military deployment around a 5,000-year-old monument? What would justify revoking scientific access during the most significant discovery in human history unless the data shows something they are not releasing publicly? Unless the synchronization implies something about 3I Atlas that changes our understanding of what it is and what it wants. I have been a theoretical physicist for 4 decades. I have consulted for NASA, the Department of Energy, and research institutions worldwide. I have never seen a response like this, not to any astronomical event, not to any discovery. Something in that classified data has frightened people at the highest levels of government. And what I am about to show you in the final section may explain why. Let me establish what we now know with absolute certainty. Stonehenge's magnetic field activated on January 13, 2025 at 3:17 UTC after 4,000 years of dormancy. This is documented by the British Geological Survey. The activation occurred at the precise moment 3I Atlas reached a position matching Stonehenge's exact geographical coordinates to 4 decimal places. NASA's trajectory data confirms this. The emission frequency matches Earth's Schumann resonance while being phase inverted. ESA swarm satellites verify this independently. The pulse pattern encodes the first 6 prime numbers in a 23-second repeating cycle. 3 separate signal processing teams reached identical conclusions. And 12 hours ago, Stonehenge synchronized its frequency with a simultaneous emission from 3I Atlas itself, both broadcasting at 14.1 hertz across 247 million kilometers of space. These are not theories. These are documented observations from the most sophisticated scientific instruments on Earth and in orbit. But one question remains unanswered. One question that every classified briefing carefully avoids: what activated the system in the first place? Not how. We have the data showing how the magnetic field behaves. Not when. We have timestamps precise to the millisecond. What sent the initial signal? What told Stonehenge that 3I Atlas had arrived at the designated coordinates? What has been waiting for thousands of years for this specific object to reach this specific position? Because the answer determines everything. If this is residual technology from an advanced prehistoric human civilization, then everything we know about ancient history requires revision, complete revision. Our ancestors possessed electromagnetic knowledge we are only beginning to understand today. If this is a monitoring system placed by a previous interstellar visitor, then 3I Atlas is not the first. Something came here before. Something built infrastructure, something intended to return or intended to send others. And if this is an active communication protocol between Stonehenge and 3I Atlas, then we are witnessing first contact, not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. There is no middle ground. One of these scenarios is our reality, and the clock is running right now. As you process this information, 3I Atlas continues its trajectory through our solar system. Every hour brings it 42,000 kilometers closer to its perihelion point. Every hour, the synchronized frequency between object and monument holds steady. On January 15th, 2026, 3I Atlas will reach its closest approach to Earth, 127 million kilometers. Still distant by everyday standards, but half the current distance. If the frequency synchronization intensifies as distance decreases, we may witness something unprecedented in human history. Within the next 18 days, NASA's Deep Space Network is recording continuously. ESA satellites remain redirected. The British military maintains its exclusion zone around Stonehenge. Every major observatory on Earth has 3I Atlas in their targeting queue. The scientific community is watching. Governments are responding. The data stream is active and accelerating. 4,000 years ago, someone placed stones in a precise configuration on Salisbury Plain. They encoded astronomical knowledge into its structure. They built something that would wait in silence across millennia. And now it is no longer waiting. 3I Atlas is approaching, Stonehenge is responding. And whatever message is being exchanged between an interstellar object and an ancient monument, we are about to receive it. Hello and welcome. It is January 15th, 2026, and just 10 hours ago, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter detected something from 3I Atlas that has a 0.03% probability of occurring naturally. I am talking about object separation, a fragment detaching from the nucleus now in stable orbit between Earth and the Moon. Picture this. An interstellar comet 138 million kilometers away ejects a discrete object. Not a dust particle, not random outgassing, but a 47-meter structure that immediately established complex orbital mechanics. Apogee, 362,000 kilometer. Perigee, 321,000 kilometer, period 14.3 hours. That is not mere ejection. That is strategic deployment. NASA's Deep Space Network tracked the separation at 16:18 UTC yesterday, January 13th. The object, designated Anomaly 17, separated from 3I Atlas with a velocity of 340 meters per second. Precise and directional, within 8 hours it had entered cislunar space, the region between Earth and Moon. 3 independent tracking stations confirmed the trajectory. Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex in California, the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex in Australia, and NASA's Near-Earth Object Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer. Different hemispheres, different instruments, yet identical orbital elements. Think about the precision required here for an object to separate from a comet 138 million kilometers away and achieve stable Earth-Moon orbit. The trajectory calculations involve 73 variable factors: solar gravity, Earth's gravity, lunar gravitational perturbations, solar radiation pressure, the object's mass, and cross-sectional area. The probability of natural outgassing producing this exact trajectory is 1 in 32,600 in 4.6 million years of cometary observation across 23,000 cataloged objects, including 847 long-period comets and 19 confirmed interstellar visitors. We have never seen a separated fragment achieve stable planetary orbit, not once. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory convened an emergency teleconference 5 hours ago at 21 HOW EST last night for a classification priority assessment. When JPL activates crisis protocols at 9 p.m. on a Thursday evening, and when the European Space Agency's tracking network reconfigures to cislunar monitoring, and when 3 space agencies coordinate observation within a 6-hour window, this is not a small detail. 3I Atlas had no detectable fragmentation 24 hours ago, no outbursts, no sudden brightness changes. Hubble's monitoring on January 13th showed a stable nucleus with standard comet activity, outgassing rate 180 kilogauss, coma diameter 94,000 kilometer, and a single dust tail extending 340,000 kilometer. And then something changed. Something is still changing. What the data reveals about the object's trajectory, the separation mechanics, and the orbital insertion precision has no precedent in celestial mechanics. Let me give you context. 3I Atlas, officially designated C2024-3I, was discovered on January 13, 2024, by the Atlas Survey Network. The interstellar classification came within 72 hours based on a hyperbolic trajectory and orbital eccentricity of 1.89. That means it is not bound to our solar system. It came from interstellar space and will return there after its closest approach. Over the past 11 months, astronomers documented 16 anomalies from this object. Unexplained rotational changes, compositional signatures inconsistent with standard comets, and electromagnetic emissions at frequencies requiring coherent sources. Anomaly 17 is different. On January 15th at 1618 UTC, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, currently mapping the Moon's far side, detected a radar return from cislunar space. LRO was looking for it. The spacecraft's mini-RF instrument was conducting routine lunar surface scans when it registered an unexpected reflection. Distance from the Moon, 41,000 kilometers. $41,000. Velocity, 1.02 kilometers per second. Trajectory, a highly elliptical orbit with Earth as the primary gravitational focus. Let that sink in. The object appeared in cislunar space with no prior detection. Backtracking the trajectory using orbital mechanics software. NASA's trajectory team calculated the separation from 3I Atlas's position at 1618 UTC. The math is unambiguous. Separation velocity 340 MOS relative to the comet. Direction within 2.4 degrees of the optimal Earth transfer trajectory. For an object to randomly eject in that precise direction, the angular probability is 0.04% of the celestial sphere. Here is what makes this definitive. NASA's NEOWISE satellite, operating in infrared to detect near-Earth asteroids, captured the separation event at 1623 UTC, just 5 minutes after LRO's detection. NEOWISE recorded a thermal signature consistent with a 47-meter object at 3I Atlas's location. The ESA's Gaia spacecraft, positioned at the Earth-Sun L2 Lagrange point 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, independently measured positional data at 1709 UTC. The astrometric solution matched NASA's trajectory within 0.8 kilometers. The Canberra Deep Space Network antenna DSS-43 conducted radar tracking at 1834 UTC. Doppler shift measurements confirm velocity at 1.024 kilometer per second. Radar cross-section 1,740 square meters. That is consistent with a solid object, not a porous cometary fragment. 3 independent sources, radar, infrared, and astrometry, all converging on the same conclusion. But that was only anomaly number 1. Within Anomaly 17 on December 19th at 22:47 UTC, 6 hours after separation, something else appeared in the data. The object's orbit began changing, not drifting, not decaying, but actively adjusting. NASA's Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System monitored the object continuously from 1800 UTC onward. Between 2247 and 2352 UTC, a span of 65 minutes, the orbital period decreased from 15.1 hours to 14.3 hours. That requires a velocity change, a delta V, of approximately 47 VMS, natural orbital decay from atmospheric drag at 321,000 kilometers altitude. Impossible, as it is well beyond Earth's atmosphere.